Have you ever watched someone you love change in ways that are hard to put into words, like they're quietly preparing to say goodbye? Today, we're uncovering 8 signs an elderly person is in their last year of life, subtle clues that can make all the difference in how you care for them. These aren't just signs, they're opportunities to bring more comfort and love to those precious moments. Welcome to Life Wisdom, where we share insights on senior health to help you navigate aging with care and confidence. Stick with us to learn how to spot these gentle signals and what you can do to make every day count. Let us know in the comments where you're joining us from, New York, Arizona, or somewhere else entirely. Let's get started. Every life tells a story, and as we age, our bodies have a quiet way of signaling when that story is nearing its final chapters. Too often, these signals go unnoticed, not because we don't care, but because they're so subtle, blending into the everyday moments we share with those we love. Understanding 8 the signs an elderly person is in their last year of life isn't about predicting the future, it's about embracing the present. When we recognize these gentle hints, we gain the chance to offer more than just care. We can offer time filled with warmth, dignity, and connection. Millions of Americans over 50 are walking this journey with their loved ones, yet many don't realize the body starts preparing long before the end. We're here to guide you through each of these signs, from the smallest changes to the most telling moments, so you can respond with love and confidence. Let's explore together how noticing these signals can transform fleeting days into lasting memories. Think back to a moment when you were with someone dear. Maybe your father or an aunt, resting quietly in their favorite spot by the window. As you glance over, you notice their chest rising and falling in a way that feels unfamiliar. Each breath seems softer, more deliberate, as if the air itself is moving with a gentle hesitation. It's a fleeting observation, one you might brush off as a sign of fatigue, but it's often the body's earliest whisper that its rhythm is shifting. This subtle transformation in breathing, coupled with an unexpected coolness in the hands, feet, or even the fingertips, signals that the body is beginning to conserve its strength for a quieter journey. Let's dive into the science behind this change. As we age, our bodies become finely tuned to balance energy demands, especially when chronic illnesses or the natural wear of time take their toll. When someone enters their final year, the respiratory system, one of the body's most vital engines, starts to adjust its workload. The brainstem, which acts like a conductor for breathing, begins to dial back its tempo. This can lead to breaths that are shallower, spaced farther apart, or irregular, almost like a melody slowing to a softer cadence. In medical terms, this pattern is often linked to Cheyne-Stokes respiration, where cycles of deep breathing alternate with periods of shallow breaths or even pauses, sometimes lasting 10 to 30 seconds. These pauses, called apneas, occur because the brain's sensitivity to carbon dioxide levels diminishes, a common trait in conditions like congestive heart failure, advanced kidney disease, or neurodegenerative disorders such as Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. Studies suggest that up to 50% of individuals with severe heart or lung conditions may experience this breathing pattern as their body prioritizes efficiency over exertion. But the changes don't stop at breathing. Run your hand gently over theirs, and you might feel a surprising chill as if their fingers have borrowed the coolness of a winter breeze. Their feet may mirror this, or even their earlobes might feel slightly frosty to the touch. This phenomenon stems from the cardiovascular system's strategic retreat. The heart, now pumping with less vigor, redirects blood flow to protect vital organs like the brain, liver, and kidneys. This leaves the extremities, hands, feet, and sometimes the face, with reduced circulation. Scientifically, this is known as peripheral vasoconstriction, where blood vessels in the outer limbs narrow to conserve heat and oxygen for the body's core. As a result, the skin may appear paler, occasionally with a mottled or bluish tint around the nails, lips, or knuckles, indicating lower oxygen saturation in those areas. Research shows that this cooling can begin months before other signs become apparent, often going unnoticed because it feels like a natural response to a chilly room. Let's ground this in a story. Meet Mrs. Evelyn, a warm-hearted woman who spent years tending her garden. Her son, Michael, began to notice that she was breathing differently. Short, delicate breaths when she sat in her rocking chair, sometimes followed by pauses that made him hold his own breath in concern. He also saw that her hands, once busy pruning roses, now felt cool and fragile, even on warm summer evenings. At first, Michael thought she was just adjusting to the season or recovering from a long day, but these changes lingered, like a quiet note played over and over. Evelyn's doctor later explained that her heart condition was causing her body to prioritize blood flow, and her breathing pattern was a natural adaptation to lower energy needs. So, what can you do when you observe these shifts? The first step is to approach them with calm awareness. These changes don't always signal pain. Often, they're the body's way of finding balance. If breathing seems strained, consider adjusting their position. Elevating the upper body with a stack of soft pillows can open the airways, making each breath feel less like a struggle. A slight incline, about 30 to 45 degrees, can reduce pressure on the diaphragm, a muscle critical for breathing, according to respiratory therapists. If they prefer sitting upright, perhaps in a recliner or cushioned chair, honor that choice. It often eases the work of their lungs. When it comes to the coolness in their limbs, resist the instinct to bundle them in heavy layers, which can feel confining and add unnecessary weight. Instead, try a lightweight blanket or shawl, draped gently to offer comfort without restriction. Holding their hand or massaging their fingers lightly can stimulate circulation while sending a message of presence. Sometimes, that warmth from your touch means more than any fabric. If their lips or nails show a bluish tint, don't panic. It's often a sign of reduced oxygen flow rather than immediate distress. However, if they seem uncomfortable or anxious, a call to their healthcare provider can clarify whether gentle interventions like supplemental oxygen might help. Another practical tip is to observe their environment. Dry air can make breathing feel harder, so a small humidifier in the room can add moisture, soothing their airways. Avoid strong scents, like perfumes or cleaning products, which might irritate sensitive lungs. For Mrs. Evelyn, her son found that keeping a window cracked for fresh air and placing a warm cloth on her hands brought her a sense of ease, turning quiet afternoons into moments of shared peace. These signs, though they may stir a pang of worry, are more than clinical changes. They're invitations to deepen your connection. Each altered breath, each cool fingertip, is a reminder that time is precious, urging you to show up with intention. You don't need to fix what's happening. Your role is to accompany, to listen, to care. When you respond with tenderness, whether by adjusting a pillow, offering a gentle touch, or simply sitting close, you're crafting memories that hold fast against the passage of time. These small acts weave a tapestry of love, proving that even as the body quiets, the heart's song remains loud and clear. Have you ever watched someone you love linger over a meal, their eyes passing over a plate of food as if it were a stranger rather than a source of comfort? Perhaps it's your mother, who once savored every bite of her famous apple pie, now leaving it untouched with a faint smile. This quiet withdrawal from the pleasure of eating, where appetite fades and even beloved flavors lose their charm, is a profound signal that the body is shifting its focus. Far from a fleeting whim or a sign of stubbornness, this loss of hunger speaks to a deeper recalibration, often hinting that the body is preparing for a gentler phase of existence. Let's unravel the science behind this transformation. As the body ages, its digestive machinery naturally slows, but in someone approaching their final year, this process intensifies. The production of ghrelin, a hormone that sparks hunger by nudging the brain's appetite centers, drops significantly. Meanwhile, the vagus nerve, which acts as a messenger between the gut and the brain, becomes less active, dulling the signals that once prompted a hearty meal. Research shows that up to 70% of older adults with conditions like heart failure, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or dementia experience this condition, termed anorexia of aging. The hypothalamus, the brain's control hub for hunger and thirst, also grows less responsive, partly due to reduced blood flow and neural activity. This isn't just about taste buds losing their edge, though that happens too as saliva production wanes and taste receptors weaken, making even savory dishes feel bland. The stomach itself churns more sluggishly, absorbing nutrients with less efficiency, while the intestines take longer to process what little is consumed. This disinterest doesn't stop at food. You might find a cup of tea abandoned on the counter or a glass of water barely touched by bedtime. This reluctance to drink ties to a parallel decline in thirst signals, driven by the kidney's reduced ability to regulate fluid balance. Dehydration can silently take hold, increasing risks of confusion, urinary infections, or even heart strain, especially since older adults may already have lower blood volume. Swallowing itself can become a hurdle. Medications, neurological conditions like Parkinson's or past strokes can weaken throat muscles, turning each sip or bite into an effort. Unlike a temporary loss of appetite from stress or illness, this change settles in persistently, reshaping daily routines in ways that families often misinterpret as mere fussiness. Picture Mrs. Lillian, a former librarian who took pride in hosting family dinners. Her grandson, Daniel, noticed she'd stopped reaching for her beloved mashed potatoes, nibbling only a teaspoon before setting her fork down. Even her morning oatmeal, once a staple, went cold in the bowl. Daniel tried offering her favorite lemon cookies, but Lillian would shake her head, saying, "It just doesn't feel right." At first, he thought she was grieving a recent loss, but her physician explained that her advancing kidney condition was signaling her body to conserve energy, reducing its need for food and drink. For Lillian, meals had become a task, not a delight. How can you respond to this sign? Start by letting go of expectations. Pushing for a full plate often backfires, leading to discomfort or nausea. Instead, offer small, nutrient-dense foods that feel inviting rather than overwhelming. A warm mug of vegetable soup, a creamy yogurt swirled with a touch of fruit, or a bite-sized piece of soft cheese can deliver nourishment without taxing the system. Geriatric studies highlight that protein-rich, easy-to-swallow options, like pureed lentils or a soft-boiled egg, can sustain energy levels effectively. If a familiar taste, like a hint of maple syrup or a sprinkle of herbs, might spark a memory, weave it in gently to coax a moment of enjoyment. Hydration demands equal attention. If large glasses feel daunting, try offering water in small, frequent sips, perhaps a tablespoon every 15 minutes, using a colorful straw to make it feel less clinical. Ice chips infused with a drop of juice can be a refreshing alternative, melting slowly to hydrate without pressure. A 2020 study in elder care found that such microdosing of fluids can cut dehydration risks by 30% in those with low thirst drive. For Mrs. Lillian, Daniel learned that a tiny cup of chamomile tea, warmed just enough to soothe, brought a flicker of comfort during their evening talks, even if she only took a few sips. Create a welcoming atmosphere, too. A cluttered table or rushed mealtime can dampen interest, so set a simple place with a familiar napkin or plate to evoke warmth. Sit beside them, share a memory, or hum a tune they love. Connection can make the moment feel less like a chore. If they turn away from food entirely, don't let frustration take hold. It's their body charting its course, not a dismissal of your efforts. Sometimes the greatest gift is your presence, a hand to hold, a story to share, nourishing the soul when the stomach says no. This waning appetite, though it may stir a quiet ache, opens a door to reimagine care. Each uneaten bite, each untouched cup, is a call to prioritize meaning over quantity, to offer love in ways that transcend the plate. By meeting them where they stand, you're not just easing a moment, you're crafting a legacy of tenderness that lingers, proving that even when hunger fades, the bonds of care remain steadfast and true. Have you ever caught a glimpse of someone you cherish, maybe your father or a dear aunt, pausing mid-step, their shoulders sagging as if the simple act of crossing the room carries the weight of a marathon? It's not the kind of tiredness that fades after a good night's sleep or a strong cup of coffee. This deep, unrelenting fatigue, where even the smallest tasks feel monumental, is a powerful signal that the body is redirecting its energy inward. Far from laziness or a lack of will, this persistent exhaustion reflects a profound shift, often indicating that the body is conserving its strength for a quieter chapter ahead. Let's explore the science driving this change. As the body nears its final year, its systems begin to operate on a tighter budget. The heart pumps with less force, delivering oxygen and nutrients to muscles at a slower pace. Mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses inside cells that produce energy, become less efficient, especially in older adults with conditions like heart disease, diabetes, or chronic lung issues. This leads to a drop in adenosine triphosphate, ATP, the molecule that fuels muscle movement and stamina. Research suggests that up to 60% of individuals over 70 with chronic illnesses experience this type of fatigue, known as asthenia, which persists regardless of rest. Hormonal changes also play a role. Levels of cortisol and thyroid hormones, which regulate energy and metabolism, often decline, leaving the body in a state of constant conservation. Beyond the physical, the brain itself contributes. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for motivation and planning, may receive less blood flow, dulling the drive to engage in daily activities. Meanwhile, chronic inflammation, a common companion of aging, releases cytokines, proteins that can amplify feelings of lethargy. This isn't just about muscles growing weary, it's a whole body recalibration. You might notice their steps becoming unsteady, their grip weaker when holding a cup, or their eyes closing for longer naps, even after a full night's sleep. Simple chores, like buttoning a shirt or walking to the mailbox, can feel as daunting as climbing a steep hill. Let's anchor this in a story. Consider Mr. Thomas, a former mechanic who loved tinkering in his garage. His wife, Ellen, began to notice he'd sit longer in his chair after breakfast, staring out the window instead of heading to his workbench. Tasks he once breezed through, like carrying groceries, left him breathless and drained. Even after sleeping 10 hours, he'd say, "I just can't shake this heaviness." Ellen initially urged him to push through, thinking it was a phase, but his doctor explained that his advancing heart condition was slowing his body's energy production, making every movement a deliberate effort. For Thomas, fatigue had become a constant shadow, not a passing cloud. What can you do when the sign appears? First, resist the instinct to encourage more activity than their body can handle. Fatigue like this isn't about effort, but biology. Instead, honor their need for rest by creating a space where they feel safe to pause. A comfortable chair with good support or a bed with soft pillows can make resting feel restorative rather than defeating. If they want to join family moments, like a meal or a chat, bring the moment to them. Set a small table nearby, or share stories in their room to reduce the need for movement. Studies in geriatric care show that pacing activities, short, gentle engagements followed by rest, can preserve energy without overwhelming the body. Support their physical needs thoughtfully. Dehydration and poor nutrition can worsen fatigue, so offer small sips of water or nutrient-rich snacks, like a banana slice or a spoonful of peanut butter, which provide quick energy without taxing digestion. If they're open to it, gentle stretches, guided by a physical therapist, can improve circulation, but only if it feels good to them. For Mr. Thomas, Ellen found that a short walk to the porch, followed by a long rest with a warm drink, gave him a spark of joy without draining his reserves. Pay attention to their emotional world too. Fatigue can breed frustration or sadness, especially if they feel they're letting others down. Listen without judgment, affirming that their worth isn't tied to what they can do. A quiet moment together, reading a favorite poem or recalling a happy memory, can lift their spirits more than any task. If fatigue seems to deepen into withdrawal, a gentle check-in with their doctor can explore whether medications or underlying conditions, like anemia or depression, are amplifying the exhaustion. This unrelenting weariness, though heavy to witness, is a call to redefine strength. Each slowed step, each longer rest, invites you to meet them with patience and presence, to value being overdoing. You're not powerless, you're powerful in the small, deliberate acts that say, "I see you." By creating space for rest and by sharing moments of quiet connection, you're weaving a legacy of care that endures. Even as their energy fades, your love remains a steady light, guiding them gently through the twilight. Imagine flipping through a family calendar, once filled with plans and outings, now dotted with reminders of doctor visits and medication refills. Your loved one, perhaps your mother or uncle, seems to catch every cold that drifts by, or a tiny scratch lingers far longer than it should. This pattern of recurring illnesses and wounds that refuse to heal isn't just bad luck or a sign of frailty. It's a compelling signal that the body's defenses are winding down, struggling to keep pace with challenges it once brushed off. This shift, where infections linger and skin stays fragile, often reveals that the body is redirecting its resources, preparing for a gentler phase ahead. Let's unpack the science behind this vulnerability. As we age, the immune system naturally weakens, a process called immunosenescence, where white blood cells, the body's frontline soldiers, become less adept at spotting and fighting invaders. In someone nearing their final year, this decline accelerates. T cells, critical for targeting viruses and bacteria, dwindle in number and strength, while inflammation, a double-edged sword, spikes, taxing the body further. Research shows that up to 80% of adults over 75 with chronic conditions like diabetes, heart failure, or kidney disease face recurrent infections, such as pneumonia or urinary tract infections, due to this weakened response. Unlike younger years, when a fever might blaze to signal a fight, the elderly often show subtler signs: confusion, sleepiness, or weakness, making these illnesses harder to catch early. Healing, too, takes a hit. Skin, the body's protective shield, thins with age, losing collagen and elasticity. Blood flow, already slowed by a tiring heart, delivers fewer nutrients and oxygen to damaged areas, stalling repair. Platelets, which clot to close wounds, and fibroblasts, which rebuild tissue, work less efficiently, especially under the strain of poor circulation or malnutrition. A 2021 study found that older adults with chronic illnesses heal 50% slower than their younger counterparts, turning minor cuts into stubborn sores. Pressure ulcers, open wounds from prolonged sitting or lying, can emerge on heels, hips, or the back, resisting even diligent care. Infections in these wounds often defy antibiotics, as bacteria exploit the body's fading defenses, sometimes leading to cycles of hospital stays that drain both strength and spirit. Have you ever peeked into a room at dusk, expecting to find your loved one, perhaps your grandmother or brother, peacefully asleep, only to see them wide awake, staring into the shadows, or dozing fitfully through the afternoon instead? This unraveling of sleep, where nights stretch restless and days blur with unexpected naps, isn't just a quirk of aging or a stubborn habit. It's a striking signal that the body's internal clock is drifting off course, struggling to hold its once steady rhythm. This disruption, where sleep becomes an unpredictable dance, often reflects a deeper shift, hinting that the body is easing into a quieter phase of life. Beneath this shift lies a complex dance of biology. Sleep is governed by the circadian rhythm, a 24-hour cycle orchestrated by the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a tiny cluster of cells in the hypothalamus. In someone nearing their final year, this master clock falters as blood flow and neural signals weaken, often due to aging or conditions like Alzheimer's, stroke, or heart disease. Melatonin, the hormone that lulls the body into rest, drops. Studies show levels can fall by 50% in older adults with chronic illnesses, disrupting the signal to sleep at night. Meanwhile, the pineal gland, which produces melatonin, calcifies with age, further dimming its output. Daytime naps multiply as energy reserves dwindle, throwing the rhythm into chaos. Some may sleep 12 hours across a day yet wake unrested, their bodies caught in a loop of shallow rest. This isn't just a brain issue. Physical factors amplify the disorder. Pain from arthritis or breathing struggles from lung conditions can jolt them awake, while medications like diuretics or sedatives scramble sleep patterns further. Infections or dehydration, common in frail states, can spark nocturnal restlessness or delirium, where they mumble or wander in a haze. A 2023 study found that 60% of elderly patients with advanced disease experience this sundowning, confusion peaking at night, tied to low oxygen levels and brain inflammation. You might notice them napping all afternoon, only to pace or talk to unseen figures after dark, their days and nights flipped like a broken compass. Let's weave this into a story. Picture Mrs. Edith, a former seamstress who loved her quiet evenings with a cup of tea. Her son Paul began to see her asleep by noon, her head nodding over a half-stitched quilt, yet wide awake at midnight, whispering to herself or rearranging pillows. At first, Paul thought it was stress or a bad night, but the pattern held: long naps by day, restless hours after dusk. Her doctor explained that her advancing kidney disease was disrupting her circadian cues, while pain from old injuries kept her from deep sleep. For Edith, rest had turned into a puzzle her body couldn't solve. What can you do when sleep unravels like this? Don't force a rigid schedule. Pushing wakefulness or sedation can heighten confusion. Instead, craft a gentle rhythm. Dim lights in the evening and open curtains at dawn to nudge their clock back in line. Research shows natural light boosts melatonin production by 20%. A warm drink like chamomile tea before bed can soothe without overloading the kidneys. If pain disrupts sleep, a doctor might adjust medications or suggest a soft heat pad to ease joints, letting rest come naturally. Let's ground this in a story. Picture Mr. Henry, a retired carpenter who once built furniture with steady hands. His daughter Clara noticed that a small nick from his workbench lingered for weeks, the skin red and raw instead of closing. Then came the colds. Every few months, a cough would settle in, stretching into a weary month before fading. Clara wrapped him in blankets and brewed tea, but the colds kept returning, and a scrape on his shin turned into a sore that wouldn't heal. At first, she blamed the weather or his age, but his doctor explained that his diabetes and weakening heart were hobbling his immune system and healing capacity, leaving his body exposed to every passing threat. For Henry, recovery had become a battle his body couldn't win. What can you do when this sign surfaces? First, shift from fighting every ailment to fostering comfort. Overloading with treatments can exhaust them further. For infections, early attention matters, but don't rely on fever as a cue. Watch for quieter clues like lethargy or disorientation, and consult a doctor promptly if they worsen. Simple hygiene, washing hands, keeping surfaces clean, can cut risks, as their defenses can't fend off germs alone. Nutrition bolsters what's left of their immunity, so offer small, protein-rich bites like a scrambled egg or a sip of bone broth to support white blood cells, even if appetite is low. For wounds, prevention is key. Keep skin hydrated with gentle lotions, dryness cracks the shield, and reposition them every few hours if they're bedbound to ease pressure points. A 2022 geriatric study found that using foam cushions or air mattress reduces ulcer risk by 40%. If a wound appears, clean it with mild soap and cover it with a sterile bandage, but avoid aggressive scrubbing that irritates fragile tissue. Clara learned this with Mr. Henry, applying a soothing cream to his sores and turning him gently each morning, watching his face relax as the pain eased. If wounds persist or infections recur, a doctor's input can guide whether antibiotics or specialized care are worth the toll. Sometimes, comfort trumps cure. Emotionally, this cycle can weigh heavy. They might feel frustrated or ashamed of their fragility. Reassure them with kindness, saying, "We'll handle this together." Share moments that don't demand energy, a quiet laugh over an old tale, a soft pat on the shoulder, to remind them they're not defined by their struggles. This vulnerability, though stark, is a call to protect with tenderness, not just medicine. This pattern of illness and unhealed wounds, though it may pierce your heart, is an opening to care differently. Each lingering cough, each stubborn sore, urges you to shield them with love, to prioritize peace over perfection. You're not battling time, you're cradling it, building a sanctuary of care that holds strong. By tending to their fragility with grace, you're weaving a thread of devotion that endures, showing that even as the body falters, your bond stands unshaken. For restless nights, keep their space calm. Soft bedding, a faint nightlight, and a familiar object like a blanket can anchor them. If delirium strikes, sit close and speak softly. "You're safe, I'm here," rather than correcting their words. It eases fear without strain. Paul found that leaving a radio on low with Edith's favorite jazz calmed her midnight wanderings, her breathing steadying to the melody. If daytime naps dominate, encourage short walks or a chat to break the cycle, but only if they're willing. Rest matters more than routine. Emotionally, this chaos can unsettle them. Reassure them it's not their fault with a gentle touch or a kind word. If confusion persists, a doctor's check can rule out infections or medication effects, though often, this is the body's quiet farewell. This sleep disorder, though jarring, is a chance to cradle their nights with care. Each restless hour, each drowsy day, calls you to offer peace over perfection, to sit with them in the stillness. You're not fixing time, you're filling it with love, building a haven that holds them close, proving that even as sleep falters, your presence remains a steady lullaby. Have you ever sat across from someone you love, your father, perhaps, or an old friend, and felt a quiet distance grow, as if their words have drifted away on a breeze, leaving only a stillness that fills the space between you? This subtle fading of presence, where their gaze lingers elsewhere and their voice falls silent, isn't just a moment of distraction or a sign of wariness. It's a profound signal that the mind is turning inward, stepping back from the chatter of the present to wander a quieter path. This shift, where thoughts grow distant and silence deepens, often whispers that the body and brain are preparing for a gentler close to their journey. The body has a story to tell. Here's how it unfolds. As someone nears their final year, the brain's intricate network begins to slow. Cerebral blood flow, which nourishes neurons with oxygen and glucose, ebbs, particularly in areas like the frontal lobe, where memory, language, and social engagement thrive. This decline, often worsened by conditions like dementia, stroke, or chronic heart failure, dims the brain's ability to process the here and now. Neurotransmitters like acetylcholine, vital for focus and conversation, dwindle, while amyloid plaques or vascular damage, hallmarks of Alzheimer's or vascular dementia, disrupt neural pathways. A 2022 study found that 70% of older adults with advanced neurological conditions show this cognitive retreat, marked by confusion, forgetfulness, or emotional withdrawal. The hippocampus, keeper of memories, may cling to the past, pulling them into vivid yesterdays while the present blurs. This isn't solely a mental drift, physical strain feeds it. Fatigue or low oxygen from lung or heart issues can cloud thinking, while medications, painkillers, sedatives, dull alertness further. You might notice them forgetting names, staring blankly during a chat, or pausing mid-sentence, lost in a thought they can't retrieve. At times, they seem lucid, recalling a childhood tale with startling clarity, only to slip into silence moments later, as if the mind toggles between worlds. Some speak of long-gone loved ones as if they're near or murmur to unseen presences, a phenomenon tied to hypoxia or brain changes that blur reality's edges. Emotionally, they may pull back, their once warm responses cooling to a nod or a faint smile, not from coldness but from a mind seeking stillness. Let's paint this with a story. Meet Mr. James, a retired fisherman who loved swapping tales by the dock. His niece Emily noticed he'd sit by the window, his eyes fixed on the horizon, answering her questions with a delay or not at all. One day, he'd recount a stormy catch from 40 years ago with vivid detail. The next, he'd ask for his late wife, puzzled when Emily gently reminded him she was gone. At first, Emily thought he was daydreaming, but his doctor linked it to his worsening heart condition and early dementia, which were quieting his mind's grip on the present. For James, reality was fading into a tapestry of memory and silence. How can you meet this sign? Don't rush to pull them back. Pressing for clarity can stir frustration. Instead, join them in their world with patience. If they drift to the past, listen and nod. That sounds like a wild day on the boat, letting their memories breathe. A 2021 palliative study found that affirming their reality rather than correcting it reduces agitation by 30%. If silence reigns, sit close without filling it. Your presence speaks louder than words. Gentle prompts, a photo, a soft question, can spark a thread of connection, but let them lead. Physically, ease their fog. A comfortable chair, good lighting, or a sip of water can ground them when confusion creeps in. If they seem restless, a familiar routine like folding a towel can soothe without taxing the mind. For Mr. James, Emily left a fishing lure on the table. He'd hold it, tracing its shape, a faint smile breaking his quiet. If their drift deepens, repeating phrases or losing track, a doctor might check for dehydration, infection, or medication effects, though often, this is the brain's gentle goodbye. Emotionally, this distance can ache. Reassure them with a touch or a whisper, "I'm here, no hurry." Their silence isn't absence, it's a shift to a quieter realm. This fading presence, though tender to witness, is a call to connect differently. Each distant look, each hushed pause, invites you to hold space with love, not words. You're not losing their essence, you're cradling it, building a bridge of stillness that endures, showing that even as the mind wanders, your heart stays near. Have you ever pulled an old photo from a drawer? Your mother or grandfather beaming at a long-ago picnic, and realize the person beside you no longer fits that frame, their once sturdy figure shrinking beneath clothes that hang loose like borrowed garments. This unexplained weight loss, where pounds slip away without diet or effort, isn't just a quirk of aging or a fleeting change. It's a striking signal that the body is scaling back, its reserves quietly dwindling as it shifts focus inward. This transformation, where flesh fades and strength ebbs, often hints that the body is preparing for a softer chapter, a subtle farewell woven into its very form. Science reveals a hidden shift. Let's see why. As someone nears their final year, the body's metabolism recalibrates. Muscle mass, known as sarcopenia, erodes. Studies estimate a loss of 1 to 2% per year after 70, accelerating with chronic conditions like cancer, heart failure, or kidney disease. Fat reserves thin too, as appetite fades and digestion slows, reducing nutrient absorption. The liver, a metabolic hub, produces less protein, like albumin, weakening tissue repair. Research shows levels can drop 20% in advanced illness, leaving the body frail. Hormones shift. Insulin resistance rises, while growth hormone and testosterone, which bolster muscle, decline, tipping the scales toward breakdown over renewal. A 2023 study found that 60% of older adults with unexplained weight loss face this cachexia, a wasting state tied to inflammation and disease, beyond mere hunger loss. Physical signs tell the tale. You might notice their cheeks hollowing, arms thinning, or legs losing their once firm shape, even if meals stay steady. Clothes sag, pants cinch at the waist, shirts drape over shoulders, while the scale dips without intent. Energy wanes too. Tasks like lifting a kettle or standing long grow taxing as muscle turns to shadow. This isn't just vanity's loss. Bones weaken, raising fall risks, while immunity falters, inviting infections. Emotionally, it can weigh heavy. Some hide under layers, ashamed of their shrinking frame, while others barely notice, their minds elsewhere. Let's anchor this in a story. Picture Mrs. Alice, a former baker whose pies won local fairs. Her son, Mark, saw her sweater, one she'd worn for years, start to swallow her frame, the sleeves pulling at her wrists. She'd eat her usual soup, yet her weight slipped, 10 pounds in months, her once rosy cheeks sinking inward. Mark tried richer broths and snacks, but Alice shrugged, "I'm just not big anymore." At first, he feared neglect, but her doctor tied it to her lung condition and early cancer, draining her body's stores despite steady meals. For Alice, weight wasn't just dropping, it was a quiet retreat from her robust past. What can you do when this sign emerges? Don't chase the scale. Forcing food can spark discomfort, not growth. Focus on nourishment that fits their pace. Small, calorie-dense bites, a nut butter spread, a creamy oatmeal scoop, offer fuel without strain. A 2022 nutrition study found such snacks boost intake 25% in frail elders. If they savor a taste, perhaps chocolate or a tart berry, blend it in to tempt their palate. Hydration aids too. Broths or diluted juices keep fluids up when solids falter. For Mrs. Alice, Mark stirred a hint of cinnamon into her porridge, a nod to her baking days, coaxing a faint smile and a few extra spoonfuls. Physically, ease their load. A cushioned chair or walker can steady them, cutting fall risks as strength fades. Gentle movement, like arm lifts with a light towel, might slow muscle loss, but only if they're willing. Rest trumps rigor now. Skin sags with weight loss, moisturize to soothe it, avoiding cracks that invite trouble. If the drop steepens or weakness spikes, a doctor's check can probe causes, cancer, thyroid issues, or digestion woes, though often this is the body's natural ebb. Emotionally, they may feel small, literally and beyond. Wrap them in warmth, not judgment. You're still you, just lighter. Share moments that lift, a recipe chat, a shared laugh, showing their value isn't their size. This waste, though stark, is a call to cherish what remains. Each thinning limb, each looser shirt, urges you to hold them with care, not calories. You're not fighting fate, you're framing it with love, crafting a closeness that defies the scale, proving that even as the body shrinks, your bond grows vast and enduring. As the sun dips below the horizon after a long day, it leaves behind a glow that lingers, a reminder that even endings can hold beauty. Today we've walked through 8 subtle signals: breathing that softens, appetite that fades, fatigue that lingers, interest that dims, illnesses that return, sleep that wanders, thoughts that drift, and weight that slips away. These aren't just changes to note, they're whispers from the body, offering us a chance to see, to care, and to love more deeply in the time that remains. Recognizing these signs isn't about bracing for loss, it's about embracing the present, turning fleeting moments into treasures that endure. These signals might feel heavy, stirring memories of someone dear or echoing a journey you're living now. But here's the truth. Noticing them early doesn't steal hope, it hands you awareness. a gift to trade haste for closeness, to swap struggle for stillness. We don't need to control what's unfolding. We can simply be there, holding a hand a little longer, listening a little closer, loving a little fuller. At Life Wisdom, we believe that health for seniors isn't just about adding days. It's about filling those days with meaning, with connection, and with the warmth of shared hearts. If this journey has touched you, share it with someone who needs it, a friend, a neighbor, or a family member walking the same path. Drop a comment below and tell us what struck you most or where you're watching from. California's coast, Georgia's hills, or beyond. Your voice matters, and we'd love to hear it. As we close, take a breath and think of someone you cherish. Reach out today, sit with them, laugh with them, be with them. Life may whisper its goodbyes in quiet ways, but love speaks louder, echoing through every touch, every glance, and every moment you choose to stay near. In these final chapters, it's not the years that count, it's the love that lasts, a light that never fades.